Hey guys, welcome to Coaching with Chris. I'm very excited because I got to say, it was probably my very first mortgage conference that I went to, that I listened to Tim speak. And I'm like, if I could only be Tim. And then I'm like, we got to reach out. We got to see if we can get him on Coaching with Chris. I remember being a Lone Toolbox member, so I'm excited to hear about that. So Tim Braheem, welcome to Coaching with Chris.
Hey, Chris, nice to see your sticks in the background. When was the last time you went out and played?
I got to say that I am in the frozen tundra right now, but I go to Scottsdale a lot in the winter. And I was there right after Christmas for a week. And so I got to golf a few days, but lately I have been working, not golfing. I
Yeah,
always
well,
say,
there's
what
a
do you
lot
want
of
to be
work to
good
do.
at? And I'd rather be good at mortgage than golf.
Well, for now at least, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Where
Right
are
on. Well,
you at?
thanks. I'm actually down at my home in Costa Rica.
Okay.
I live part-time down here and part-time in California, so I'm in my conference room down here. So thanks for having me, and Happy New Year to everybody, and Happy New Year to you, and thank you for the kind words in the introduction.
So, Tim, your journey, I remember you're telling me the journey when you were at Karen Dice's event in West Palm Beach. That was my
Yeah.
very first conference. That's where I got to see you at. I know you originated for many, many years, and then, went off to development and phase and coaching. And I'm just excited to take us through this journey really quick of Tim Brahim.
I'd love to. I also am aware of the fact that we have people that are watching this that are hungry for education. So I don't want to make this intro too long, and I want to say to everybody, bear with me for a second, and I will get to bringing some value to you, because I've been looking forward to this call for a while, thinking about, what I do for a living is I'm a coach, a business and life coach. I'm very tapped in to what people need right now in the market. I'm very blessed to have some of the great loan originators in the country as my clients, people that you've probably heard of before. But my journey is real simple. I was an originator starting in 1992. I went through two very difficult markets, not all that different from the one that all of you have been through very recently and are hopefully coming out of very soon. Just to put something into perspective, Chris, in 1994, just to give you an idea as to how tough it was, interest rates had gone up to about 9.75% from when I started in the business at 7. Now, that's not like as big of an increase as everyone has experienced here in the last couple of years. But I lived in Northridge, California, and any of you who know anything about Northridge, California, in January of 1994, we had a 6.7 earthquake. And basically, 40% of the properties were red tagged, meaning that they were deemed uninhabitable, so you couldn't lend on them. So you had rates at 9.75. You had houses that couldn't be lent on. You had most of the houses that didn't have a lot of equity in them. It was hard. It was really, really hard. And I second guessed myself, like many of you have over the last 2 years or so, and fought my way through. And one of the things that I learned, Chris, that I think is really important for everybody to understand right out of the gate is when it is hard is when it's the most important.
Hmm.
I really want everybody to really let that sink in. When it is hard is when it is the most important. Why? Because when it is hard is where there are opportunities for growth. And in a market like the one that you all have been through in the last 18 months, there has been tremendous opportunities for you to become a real loan originator. And I know some of you may be like, yeah, that's easy for you to say, you're not originating loans anymore. But I almost am, in the sense that most of my clients are my dear friends. I've been through this journey over the last 18 months with them. I care about them very much. And what I'm seeing is that the originators who have focused on the daily disciplines, Chris, and are having success right now are the ones that are becoming twice the loan originator that they were in just 2 years ago. Like, just because of their ability to be creative, to be resourceful, to reconnect with referral partners and their past clients. And I want to talk about past clients today, because I think that's a real area right now. What I always try to do is I say, well, what would I be doing right now? And it's very easy for me to insert myself into that position. So I want to share a little bit about what I would be doing. And I've also actually created a tool for everyone that we're going to give to you for free that's really valuable. And I want to walk you briefly through that tool. I'm not going to go through it in granular detail, but I'm going to take 10 or 15 minutes to go through it. And then we're going to make it available on a secured link for you to download.
Cool.
But to finish the story real quick, I had some amazing years. I was fortunate to be one of the top 50 originators in the country for 8 straight years. And in 2001, I created my best year was 2004. I did 235,676 loans. That was just me. I had no other originators on my team. Um, Loan amounts are a lot bigger now, so those numbers would have been bigger if it was in today's market, but it was still a spectacular year even in that market. I created something called Loan Toolbox in 2001, which became, I think it's fair to say, the standard of education in the mortgage industry. Sold that company in 2006, was fortunate enough to retire, moved to Italy and lived a dream there for a year, came back and went back to school and got a master's degree in spiritual psychology, and have now been a business and life coach for 13 years, believe it or not. It's actually my longest career now that I've had is in the current profession that I'm in. And most recently, we have created something very special that went live yesterday called the Loan Atlas. And I want to share a little bit at the end of the call about that as well.
Yeah,
So there's your brief history.
The Loan Atlas?
Yes.
Cool name.
Yeah.
So let's talk about database. I mean, I love it. It's probably the one thing that loan officers screw up. They have this thing that's actually worth quite a bit of money, and yet probably don't work this correctly. And walk us through this piece and what you're working on with loan officers on database.
Yeah, sure. So thank you for that. So I remember I was shooting pool in my living room back in 1994 with a former loan originator who had just left the business. His name was Ellie, and he went to become a life insurance agent. And he said to me, "You really need to quit doing loans. Life insurance is a better gig. It has an annuity income." I said, "Well, the loan business has an annuity income too." And he said, how do you figure it? You don't get paid every year. And I said, "Well, you may not get paid every year." I said, "But if you effectively nurture those relationships and stay in close communication with those people and proactively provide value to them, not only will they come back, but they will refer people to you because of how you've taken care of them. And in a sense, you have created an annuity income for yourself." And this tool that I'm going to show you is going to help you really see that clearly. Now, I was a really good database manager. I think that would be a fair statement, and I say that with humility. I was the first person that I knew of that used ACT as my database CRM.
Yeah.
I started speaking it at mortgage events like Todd Duncan's event, and I started teaching database management. So the first thing that I want to say, Chris, is database management is relationship management. I really think they should change the term, because what we're really looking to do here is manage relationships. And loyalty is something you earn. It's not something that's granted to you. You have to work for loyalty. You have to display a willingness to care about people and to help people. And the fundamental problem that most originators experience when it comes to managing a database is, first of all, they don't have their systems tight enough to where when they get busy, they abort the database management strategy because they're just so fixated on their loan pipeline, which is a huge fatal error. You never stop managing relationships, not if you want to eventually get to a point where you can have that annuity income. I mean, when I did the 676 loans, I spent that much money on marketing, zero, no money. The only thing I spent money on was my newsletter to my database, and a couple of times a year hitting my database with thoughtful gifts that would remind them that I'm still around, and writing personal handwritten note cards and paying the postage for that. But once you have, I mean, there are people that I know that have a database, Chris, of 1,000, 1,500 people, but they don't talk to them. Now, let's establish something about a database. I'm not talking about your Rolodex of contacts that you have that you last spoke with 5 years ago. That's not your database. Your database are the people that you have done loans for or have been prospects in the past that you didn't get, and we're going to talk about adopting a loan in a minute too, and that you have continually stayed in contact with a system. of nurturing those people. Now, here's the fundamental problem. Now is where we start to get into psychology. There are a lot of people out there who didn't do an effective job of staying in touch with their past clients. They lost people to the refi boom in 01 and in 21 and 22. They knew that because they weren't staying on top of their database. And then we start to make up stories because we're all terrific storytellers. And the story that we make up is they're all angry with me.
Right.
I didn't stay in touch with them over the last 4 years. I can't call them now. I feel ashamed. They're all going to be upset with me. I got bad news for you. You're not that important. They're not sitting around thinking about, wow, I haven't heard from Chris in 4 years. I wonder why. It doesn't need to be that difficult. You simply call them up and say hello and ask them how they're doing and tell them the truth. So here's the first script. If you fall into this category and you have people in your database that you've not stayed in touch with, I simply want you to discipline yourself in the month of January to calling 3 people a day. Everybody can discipline, a half hour to 45 minutes to make 3 phone calls. And you simply want to call and you say, hey, Chris, this is Tim Braheem, First Rate Financial. I know that we haven't talked in about 18 months. First of all, Happy New Year. I wanted to see how you're doing. Listen, I want to apologize, first of all, because I don't think that I've done as effective of a job as I would have liked to in retrospect in staying in closer communication with you. One of the commitments that I really want to make to my clients is proactively assisting them in all areas of debt management and being a conduit for them to other areas of financial resources, such as CPAs, financial planners, life insurance agents, et cetera. And one of the things, Chris, that I'm aware of right now, and I'm sure you maybe have seen some of the news, is that we're probably near the end of this rate cycle of interest rates being, jacked up by the Fed. And this is a very cyclical experience that happens. And we've been through these markets before. Rates go down, the economy gets stimulated, the Fed needs to tighten because it gets overheated. Once they tighten enough, they start to slow the economy down, then they need to reduce rates. Well, I think we're in a position right now, Chris, to where we're going to start to see better rates. In fact, over the last 45 days or so, rates have come down roughly 0.75%. And one of the things that I want to make sure that I'm doing is reaching out to my clients like you and establishing a strike rate. Now, what's a strike rate, Chris? A strike rate is what is the interest rate that would make sense for you to move forward and swap the current debt that you have for new debt. We need to establish that rate right now, Chris, because when that rate becomes available, I want to make sure that I proactively jump on the opportunity, lock that interest rate in, get your loan reapproved, and save you and your family money. Now, you currently have an interest rate of 3.75%, which is significantly more attractive than what's available in the marketplace right now. It's 6.5 or 6.25 or whatever it is right now. But one of the things that's really important for us to understand is what other debt do you have? So I need to ask you, what car payments do you have? How many years do you have left on those cars? What revolving consumer credit card debt do you have? Most people's credit card debt is at 30% right now. It's choking them. What other loans have you taken out? Maybe a home equity line of credit or something like that through your credit union that I'm not aware of. And I want to do an analysis for you of your full debt load. Because the thing is, Chris, is people get fixated on rate. And I don't know about you, but rate doesn't equate to anything. What's most important to me is payment. Like how much money is going out and out of my checking account every single month. So I want to establish and run a spreadsheet as to what it would look like to consolidate debt if there were a drop in rates. What is the strike rate where it would be compelling and would make sense? Now I'm going to go off script for a minute. There's more to talk about, and for the sake of time, you also need to be talking to them about how their house is. How are things with your home? Rate for me on a scale of 1 to 10 what your home is to you right now. Oh, my home's a 7. Well, what would make it a 10? Well, I wish that I was a little closer to work. I wish I had a pool in the backyard for my kids, or I wish it was in a different school district. Oh, okay, I see. So we also need to establish a strike rate as to what rates need to come down to in order for you to want to list this current home that you have and find that dream home. What I heard you say is that you really want a swimming pool for your kids and you really want a home office. And that would make your living experience a 10. Don't forget, folks, off script here for a minute. A lot of these people have been in their homes now for 5 years, 6 years, but it feels like 10 because during COVID, they were locked up in their home for 2 years. So a lot of people are tired of their home. They just can't justify the move. It's
Right.
incumbent upon you as the originator to know right now what it would take for somebody to want to refi and or move into a different dwelling. And the conversation needs to take place right now. Why does it need to take place right now? Because if you wait until rates drop, think about it. You had this happen in 2020, late 2020, early 2021. Rates dropped significantly. Okay. You're scrambling, your phone's ringing off the hook. You don't have enough staff to facilitate. And that's why a lot of those people ended up going with somebody else because you weren't ready to take action. You didn't have a plan, you weren't strategic, and you weren't proactively in front of this. What I want from all of you that are watching this right now is the following. I want you to know I've got 11 people at 5 3/4 that'll move. I've got 9 more at 5 3/8 that'll take action. And at 5 1/8, I've got 14 more. So what happens is that when you are watching rates come down and they get close, you can be prepared for it. You can start to hire that contract processor to take some of that extra work at a certain dollar amount per file because you know what's coming. And boom, as soon as that day hits, 5 3/4 hits, you don't call those 11 people, Chris,
Mm-hmm.
and ask them if they want to refi. You've already had that conversation. It's a
Right.
simple phone call. Hey, Chris, Tim Braheem at First Rate Financial. I have great news for you. Remember the conversation we had 4 months ago? Guess what had happened? 5 3/4 is here. I locked your loan. I got you reapproved. My staff is sending you an updated list of things that you need to upload to our portal. I'm so happy that we're able to save you the money like we had talked about. And guess what? I'll keep watching this for you and doing it again. And that's how you have 2 years in one, Chris, is by being ready, by being organized and knowing what's coming so you can have the staffing to facilitate those loans. And that's what originators need to be doing right now in nurturing their database.
Tim, you made me think about, first of all, awesome. And having that plan, plus knowing your metrics and pre-planning is brilliant. But don't you feel like so many loan officers don't call their database because they make it about them or themselves and not enough
Yes.
about these people who trusted us at one time that did a loan, and now we're like, yeah, but if I call them, I'm the sleazy salesperson.
Yeah, so it's a phenomenal point, Chris. I 1,000% agree with you. And I'm going to add to that by saying this: that when you make it about you, okay, it makes it really difficult to figure out what to say
Hmm.
because you're thinking like, well, wait a minute, this guy's at 3 1/8, and if it's all about you and how you can convince them to do something, you're not going to make that call. And the reason you're not going to make that call is because you're thinking there's no positive outcome from this call. So you have call reluctance. But what if we took all the pressure off? What if it wasn't about you? What if it was about them? What if the only purpose of those 3 calls a day was to put a smile on 3 people's faces, to say something humorous that makes them laugh, to ask them how their family's doing, to ask them how their house is, and to let them know, even maybe apologize to them, or even share gratitude with them by just simply saying, I just want to say thank you for doing that loan with me a year and a half ago. What if that was your agenda? I promise you that what's going to happen is that if you make it about them, when rates drop and their servicer starts calling them, they're going to remember you because they like you. If you make it about you, you're no separate from the servicer. You're just a transactional salesperson that doesn't care about them, and they feel that. Which is why, and so let's take all the pressure off, team. Let's just make phone calls to check in and say hello to people and to find out about their circumstances, see what they may need. Some of them may not need a loan right now, but if you ask the right questions, some of them might need a CPA right now because we're getting into tax season. Make the outbound referral to a CPA and create a reciprocal referral relationship with accountants as a result.
Yeah, being the better connector obviously gets us more referrals, not only from like that CPA. If I'm going to give that CPA 5 leads, I'm probably going to get something back in return if I ask. So I want to go back to be able to say, why does the loan officer, let's just say average loan officer, struggle in asking for business, Tim?
lack of confidence in themselves. I mean, I struggled asking for business. I was very difficult. It was very difficult for me to ask for referrals, Chris. Like, I finally figured out like some kind of backdoor ways to do it. My personal insecurity was just around that I never wanted to feel like I was a salesperson. I always wanted to feel like I was a servant. Like it always felt much more graceful for me to feel like I was helping people.
Hmm.
And the minute that it started to reek of an agenda of my own, hey, would you please refer somebody to me if you know anybody? It was difficult for me. So I think that at the deepest core of all of it, though, Chris, is a lack of self-confidence, which is what I was at times dealing with, even when I was a successful originator. I just didn't want to have people feel like I was putting them out, by making them uncomfortable. But I finally figured out a script for me that worked, which is just to simply say, my team, I think it's really easy to use your team as an excuse.
Hmm.
My team and I really loved working with you. We were just talking about it in our team meeting the other day. And what we're aware of is it just, if there's anybody in your sphere, friends, family members, et cetera, that are nice people like you, we would love to have an opportunity to help them as well. So please keep that in mind. It was a super soft ask because that's all that I was comfortable with. But I
Yeah.
think at the end of the day, the other thing too, Chris, is that if you don't, this is why the perfect loan process is so important, which is a system of customer service that I authored, over 20 years ago as an originator. If if you know deep down inside you didn't do a great job, it's going to be tough for you to ask for referrals.
Right.
If and that's why like having a dynamic system of customer service that at the end of the transaction you're proud, like we did a great job here. Like we were proactive. This was easy breezy for them. We hit them at the right times with little gifts and kind messages and things like that. Then it becomes easier to ask for referrals. It's also why, a lot of people don't stay in touch with their past client database. They look at that name, they pull up a name like, oh yeah, we really blew that one. Next. You're not going to call that person so that's why your system of service is really important too in asking for referrals. Hey, do you mind if I share my screen and show them
Go
this
ahead.
tool?
Yeah, I'd love
So
to.
let me just check in with you. Like I want to make sure that I'm respectful of time. How much time do we have? Because I can teach all day, but I want to be
Hey,
respectful of time.
you know what? We got an hour, and
Cool.
so we
Cool.
also. So let's go.
Let me spend a little time on this then. Let me see if this works. I've never done this before in this platform. So you tell me, Chris, in a second if you can see this.
We can see it.
All right. So let me orientate you. Again, I'm going to show a slide at the end of this call for everyone to go to, and you can download this for free. Myself and some of you may know who Josh Metal is. He's a good buddy of mine. He and I worked on this together, and I think it's really cool. So there's 3 tabs. There's the Knowing Your Numbers tab, the Plan for Execution tab, and the Lead Tracker Scorecard. So let's start here. All right. The yellow fields are not locked. The white fields are locked, so you won't be able to manipulate them because there's formulas in here.
Sure.
I want you to go through this and I want you to complete this first tab. This first tab is going to tell you a lot about your business. Now, let's establish something. All successful businesses know their numbers and they run their business based upon their numbers. All of the great loan originators that I know, and I know a lot of them because they're my clients and friends, they track their numbers, they know them religiously, and then they make their business decisions based upon numbers. I'm going to give you some examples in a minute as to why it's so important. So we're just going to start. I have a database. Oh, go to the top. Sorry. So assumptions. Average gross income per loan, you should know that. You plug the number in, $4,000 in this avatar's example. Desired annual income from origination in 2024, I put in 500 grand. Number of hours I desire to work per week, I put in 40, okay? Because I want to run and lead a balanced life. Number of weeks annually that I desire to take for vacation, 6, completely off the grid, be with my family, really feel connected to them. Total weeks that you end up working, 46, and your hourly rate of pay, big number here,
Big number.
$271 an hour. Why is that important? Because if you don't know how much you desire to make by hour, and hear me clearly, every one of you are paid by the hour. All loan originators are paid an hourly rate of pay. The difference is in this business, we choose our hourly rate of pay based upon what we choose to spend our time on. Okay, so if you want to make, in this avatar's example, $271 an hour, it sheds some light as to what activities are you doing every day that you would not pay someone $271 an hour to do. And the list is probably pretty long, which begs the question, why are you doing them then? because if you're doing them, you're lowering this number. All the great originators that I know have a very finite job description. They spend their time on high payoff activities that increase their hourly rate of pay, not decrease it. Okay, so next, current monthly personal expenses and business. If you don't know this number, you need to know this number. How much does it cost for you to run your life, your personal life and your business life? In this avatar's example, 20 grand for personal and business expenses. Current tax bracket. This person's in the state of California, so their state. I threw a number in here. It's very high. Everybody
I
else's is
gotcha.
going to be. Everybody else is going to be lower than this. 45%. Okay, between state and federal. Okay, so that calculates that the gross before tax income needed to meet my monthly expenses is 36 grand a month, and the annual income needed to break even is $436,000 a year for me to break even on this number. Big number to know. I got to earn 436 in order to cover my expenses and to not dip into my savings. How many loans does it take for me to break even? Just over 9. We got that calculation from up top based upon $4,000 a loan. Okay, so I need to do 9 loans a month, right? Now, where am I going to get my business from? Now is where we get a little bit deeper into the meat of it. So let's look at our database. How many people do you have in your past client database? On average, my clients do a new loan once every, you plug in the number. I'm just saying 5 years here. I mean, some years it's 2 times in a year, and some years they don't do it. Like last year, they don't do a new loan with you. But on average, they'll do a new loan with somebody, whether it be you or somebody else, every 5 years. And that might be conservative. It might be more frequently than that. So what's the closing ratio on eligible loans from your past clients? Historically, now if you don't know the number, make up a number that you think is accurate. In this avatar's example, they close 50% of the loans that their clients do every 5 years because they do a pretty effective job in staying in touch with their past client database. And, they lose some loans to credit unions and,
I think
relatives and
that's a
things
good
like
number.
that.
I think
Yeah,
that's,
I mean, I think
if
it's
you do
fair.
a good job, you'll hit that number.
Okay, so what's that tell me? That tells me that there's 50 loans a year or 4.17 loans a month sitting in that database, Chris. If I nurture it under these conservative numbers that I plugged in, that puts some big light on the fact that there's some importance in making this a primary focus. Now, the percentage of my clients that are likely to give me at least one referral per year, 10%, 5%, you put in the number. You could just simply change it in here. I could change it to 5, I can move it to 10, whatever it is, okay? If I get 10% of my clients in my database to refer one person to me a year, that gives me 50 more loans, 50 more leads, okay? And if my closing ratio is 35% on those referrals, that generates 17 and a half loans per year for me, or 1.46 loans per month. And the total value of my database in this particular example is 5.5 deals a month if I'm nurturing it correctly and staying in touch with those people, or 67 loans a year. Let's look at referral partners.
Yeah, but go back, Tim. I
Mhm.
mean, to putting into real numbers, this is awesome. Love this. And that means a database of 500 at average $4,000 commission is worth $268,000 a year to you if you
Yep.
take good care of it. I mean, that's real money.
Yep. Why do you think that's where I spent all my time? Remember, I told you, I did a tremendous amount of marketing, Chris, early in my career, consumer direct marketing, spent a ton of money for the first 6 years. But once I built up a database, all of my focus went to nurturing that database. And that's how I did so many loans, was because they're warmer referrals, Chris. When they're your past clients and you've done a great job for them and they refer people to you, they're warmer referrals. You have a higher batting average on those referrals because they're not Zillow leads. They're not Boomtown leads. They're not leads that you got from door knocking. They're hot leads
Right.
because they come from a different source. So let's talk about source for a minute. Let's talk about strategic referral partners. Okay, the number of referrals per strategic partner. Okay, 1. Let's say I get 1 a month, 12 a year leads. Okay, the number of strategic partners that I have: accountants, financial planners, realtors, new home builders, etc. I have 10. Okay, so that means that I'm getting 120 leads a year from these sources, and I'm actually getting 10 a month. Okay, my closing ratio is 25% in this avatar's example. So 120 leads a year, 10 a month, 25% closing ratio. I'm getting 2.5 leads a month, or 30, not leads, 2.5 deals a month, or 30 leads a year. Now, a couple of interesting things that I want to point out here. And I'm going to just take a moment to unshare my screen so I can look at all of you, and then I'll come back to it. I realized about midway through my career that I was spending a tremendous amount of time nurturing realtors, spending a lot of hours, money, etc. And when I did these numbers, I realized I got a couple of CPAs that are worth more than most of my realtors, and I don't spend any time with them. But
Mm-hmm.
because I wasn't an attorney here, because I see the glare on the camera, because I didn't know my numbers, I was misdirected in my focus and where I was spending my time. Now, let's talk about something else. That 25% conversion ratio on those realtor leads. Why is it only 25%? When we get to the third tab, we're going to analyze it a little bit further. But I will tell you, Chris, that a lot of the times it's because they don't know how to refer you. It's the way that they're referring you, and it's your job to script them as to how to refer you. And I'm going to give you a script on that when we get back to this tab here and to the third tab. So let me just go ahead and share this again. All right. I assume you can see this again, Chris?
Yep.
Great. Then we got consumer direct. If you're doing consumer direct, just plug in the number here. I'm getting 10 leads a month from consumer direct. Obviously, your conversion ratio, your batting average is much lower on consumer direct. I plugged in 6%. This gives me my total number of loans a year from consumer direct, my total number of loans a month. Depends upon how much money you're spending on that, but that's not a lot of loans. And therefore, you need to either figure out how to increase these numbers by having better marketing, or maybe stop this and focus your energy on nurturing your database. But what it gives us here is a total of 104 loans a year, 8.73 loans a month. All right, so where does my plan leave me? 8.73 loans at an average of $4,000 a loan makes me $418,000, which is $34,900 a month. And then we want to plug in one other important number. What is the gross non-mortgage additional income pre-tax that I earn? Maybe your spouse has a job. Maybe you have investment property. Maybe you do really well in Bitcoin or investments. You plug a number in here and it calculates for your monthly, and then it gives you all the totals. So in this avatar's example, their current financial needs are $436,000. Okay, their current loan origination goal is $500,000. Their current projected annual income, including this $100,000, is $518,000. So this person will save $82,436 this year. Now, if you goof around the numbers and this becomes a negative, well, that's important information. Like I need to choose an area that I'm going to drill down on and execute at a higher level on to increase my income in that area, whether it be my database, my referral partners, et cetera. So let's go to the plan for execution. I'll go through this rather quickly, but this is a very cool tool as well. What I've done here, what we've done, is we've taken you all the way out through the end of the year, and we've created a tracking sheet. You change the first date. Today is 1/9. Change it. It changes everything sequentially going forward. Okay, call 5 people a day in my database to connect. You track this. When you do, you see the numbers change, whoops, it totals it up over here. So if your goal is every day for 5 days, boom, success. You had a successful day there. Send out a monthly newsletter, film video and set out HomeBot monthly. Send out a weekly market update video or educational email. You can read through the list here. What we've done for you is we've taken each of these different buckets and we've given you next actions of things that you can be doing to be successful in these areas that was in the previous tab in the spreadsheet to hopefully improve your success rate. Finally, let's take a look at the lead tracker scorecard, and then I'm going to certainly let you ask me any questions that you have. So this is one that I used to do on a yellow legal pad, Chris, back, my gosh, 20 years ago. But man, I got to tell you, bro, this is one of the most important things that I ever did. So I like to use the metaphor of baseball. What's the first thing that a hitter does when he strikes out and he goes back into the dugout? He goes and he gets the iPad and he watches the pitches that the pitcher beat him on. Okay. What do batters, good hitters, do before the game? They study the tendencies of the pitchers. They know what pitches that they like to throw on certain counts, etc. This is how a good hitter improves their batting average. Sales is no different. If you don't know where you're swinging and missing, how can you possibly improve your scripting? So back in 1998, there was a lender called Ditech Funding.
Hmm.
Go off of camera here for a minute just so I could talk to you all. So Ditech Funding, they had all these billboards on the 405 freeway in Los Angeles, and they used to advertise interest rates at like a 0.25% rate better than I could possibly get and make any money. And I finally decided so I had my yellow legal pad, and I did this simple process for a couple months where anytime a lead would come in, I'd write down the name of the lead, and then I'd write down what happened when it finally came to fruition. It could be 3 weeks later. Yes, they went with me. No, they didn't go with me. If it was no, they didn't go with me, why didn't they go with me? Now you have to ask that question. If somebody says to you, you know what, I ended up applying with somebody else, or I decided to do loan, I'm really sorry that I didn't provide enough value to you to show you that I would be the right person to work with. But I want to congratulate you and I want to wish you well. And if you don't mind me asking, can I just ask why you didn't work with me and why you chose the other lender? And then I would write it down, because this is important information. Because by the end of the month or the end of 2 months, I started to see patterns. Oh, wow. Like my processing fee cost me a couple of deals, or I didn't, this wasn't my case. I'm using this as a hypothetical because I was
Sure.
like kind of an animal when it came to following up on leads, but it's like, oh, I didn't call them back frequently enough. Could be a reason. But Ditech Funding was on that sheet 5 or 6 times every month. Now, we've already established we make $4,000 alone, or whatever it is that you make. In my world, that was $20,000 to $25,000 a month I was losing to this one source. That's important information. I need to figure out scripting as to how to counter them, sell against them successfully. A lot of you dealt with this in the last year and a half with credit unions when they had way better ARM rates than you did. And then you started trying to sell 2-1 buy downs. And you had to try to figure out how to propose that that product and pit it up against the 5-1 ARM and to sell it in a unique way. So I called Ditech and I played consumer and I asked a lot of questions. And here's what I found out. They were quoting a 10-day mandatory delivery. I was quoting 45-day best efforts pricing. For those of you who don't know what 10-day mandatory delivery means, it simply means that you got to close the loan in 10 days or there's a pair-off fee for it. Well, we were smoking busy. These were refis. You got a 3-day right of rescission plus at least 1 weekend in there. There's no way they can lock you in on the rate that they're quoting you. They're quoting you that aggressive rate and then they're floating and playing the hedge. Well, when I figured that out, I was able to add into my scripting the simple request that, hey, if you've ever talked to this company called Ditech Funding, I'm sure you've seen their advertisements. I want to make sure that you know the difference between the two of us. And then I told them what to say. If you call them, ask them, is this an interest rate that you can guarantee locking me in on today for at least 30 days to ensure that there's no problems with me closing on time? And then they kept calling me back saying, you were right. They can't lock me in. I said, well, that's what's called a bait and switch, Chris. You have to ask yourself the question whether you're comfortable working with somebody who starts off a relationship that way. All of a sudden, I started not losing loans to Ditech. And that's why this spreadsheet is so important. So let's go back to it and I'll finish up. So I simply want you to plug in the name of the lead. In this case, I put in Bill Jones. Oops. That's a good catch there. It looks like this is locked, so I need to unlock that. Yeah, important. Okay. Yep. Okay. Apologize. I need to get this unlocked before we make this available to download, but I'll get it unlocked for you all here in the next 15 minutes. But you simply want to plug in the name of the lead, who the source was, in this case, Realtor Mary Johnson. Yes, this person went with me. Okay. And then it will calculate over here my batting average, which is 50%, because 2 of these people went with me and 2 of them didn't. Mary Jackson, CPA Richard Blythe, no, they didn't go with me. They said my fees were too high. Okay. If you track this, you're going to start to see a couple of very important things, Chris. First thing you're going to see is the pattern that I referenced of there being certain reasons as to why you're losing deals that you didn't know about and that you can now get in front of. You're also going to start to see patterns, and now I'm going to give you the script for the referral source. Wow, it's interesting. Whenever Richard Blythe, my CPA, refers a deal to me, they always go with me. Whenever Mary Jones, that realtor, refers a deal to me, I have a batting average of 20%. But when Terry, that other realtor, refers a deal to me, I have a batting average of 50%. Well, what's happening with one versus the other? Well, might it be the way that they're referring people to you? Might it be their source of getting referrals? So here's a script for everybody in closing on how to earn the right to ask a realtor or any other referral partner to refer you in a certain way. And I'll role play with you, Chris. Let's say you're a real estate agent. Chris, I was on this Zoom call or I was on this Facebook Live call the other day, and this guy was teaching. And he shared something with me, with all of us, that I never even thought of before, which is I've never asked you how you want to be referred by me. And what I mean by that is this, is that what I'm acutely aware of is that we're a team here. Like, we need to close people together. We need to work together. So when you are kind enough to refer somebody to me and I talk to them for the first time, what are the things that you would like me to say about you that are uncomfortable for you to say about yourself because they would come off as arrogant? I'd really like you to script me properly so I know how to really endorse you, to make sure that they end up working with you, because I don't want to have the uncomfortable situation where you refer somebody to me and they end up working with me, but they end up not working with you. Like, that's never comfortable for me. I want to make sure that we're closing the highest percentage of people possible so we can be as successful as possible. Super flattering ask. Every real estate agent that you ever ask this stuff is going to be like, oh, wow, well, that's really nice of you. Yeah, well, I think I bring 20 years of experience and blah, 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 blah. I have a passion for putting people in homes, whatever they tell you.
Mhm.
After they've answered that,
By the way, most don't. They don't know what to say.
then you help them with that.
Right.
Then let me interview you. Let me ask you, like, what are some of the things that you do think that you bring to the table? Like, what are you aware of that are the strengths of your personality? Are you a people person? Are you a good negotiator? Do you have a high aesthetic so you know how to list property properly? Do you have 20 years of experience? Like, let's get that nailed down so I can say these things about you and endorse you. Once you've had that part of the conversation, then you just simply say, hey, Chris, if you don't mind, would it be okay if I also shared with you what I would like for you to say about me before you introduce somebody to me, just so we can make sure that we're really a team here? You're not going to say no to me after I've had that conversation with you. I mean,
Exactly.
you're going to be completely willing to do it. Now I can tell you. So what happens, like, when I started telling this to my real estate agents, it was crazy as to how strong the referrals. They call up and they'd already be sold. Terry Marler asked me to give you a call, and she said that you're incredible at managing debt. And they're going to proactively watch my loan for me, and you're going to refi me, sometimes even at no points, no fees, depending upon my loan amount, and blah, blah, blah. I mean, they'd be closed before a word came out of my mouth. This is how your batting average goes up. So I'm going to hit pause there. I know that I got a little long-winded. I hope that was valuable to all of you. And we're going to get this this spreadsheet out to everybody so they can use it.
I love that I think looking at your data, understanding your data. So go back to your first sheet. I mean, it's a P&L, starts out with your goals, but breaks apart where you're getting your business from or where you want your business to come from. And then at the end, it says, am I going to hit my goal or not? And I love how you've done that and made it so simple. There's not a loan officer in the country that couldn't honestly fill that out, Tim. And then roll that to your lead tracker of actually knowing not only what your batting average is, but who's giving you the referrals and how that matches back up to, in a sense, what is the name of the first form? I want to call it a P&L, but it's not. It's more than a P&L.
We call it the number spreadsheet because it's
the number spreadsheet.
What is the number that I need?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. It's like the most visible dashboard you could ever ask for. And do you find that some change or look at that number, every quarter or halfway in, or they keep it that same all the way through for the year?
I would suggest that you do it every year, but you have to also be flexible. Like, things can change in the market, right? So, we don't know where we're going to be 6 months from now. You could be in a situation where you need to pivot your focus. But the thing is that that's really what this is about, is first, let's understand the numbers, which drives the focus. That's why that second tab is important. Like after I know what my opportunities are, now I can choose where I spend my time. Okay, time management is a misnomer. We're not managing time, we're managing tasks. What are the tasks that I'm going to focus on with the time that I have that are going to be the highest payoff activities for me? And that's what all the great originators do, is that they evaluate that, and they know their numbers, and they make decisions based upon the understanding of their numbers. And I see some of the comments in here, and I just want to say thank you to everybody. It's very, very nice of you, and I appreciate very much what you're sharing, and I'm super happy to be able to share this with you, and I'm glad you like it. Do you mind if I share a little bit about the loan atlas before we wrap up?
Yeah, I definitely want to. Grab one question, Tim, real quick, and then let's get into the loan atlas. I'd love to know your feedback, buyers, when they don't respond or ghost you after the application, when you're shopping with other lenders.
Yeah,
So,
I love this question. So
great.
I'm going to go I'll be a little colorful with my vernacular here for a minute, but I used to call myself a professionally persistent pain in the ass. That's what I was. Like, I'm going to call you until you tell me to not call you anymore. One of the things that I think really I've noticed a lot lately with originators is they got really complacent with their lead follow-up. We just had a mastermind call within the Leadership 360 coaching program that was spectacular just last week on this particular subject matter of lead follow-up frequency. I called my leads every Monday. There's no more important activity for me to be engaged in. I didn't outsource that to anyone. Now I'm going to call you. If I don't get you, I may leave you a message, but if I left you a message last week, I'm probably not going to leave you a message this week. I'm just going to hang up. I'm going to call you again later in the week until I get you. Okay. And I'm going to hit you with a text. But I'm going to keep calling you and asking you what other questions you have. How can I serve you? What education can I provide you with? Until you tell me I've gone somewhere else. And if you tell me I've gone somewhere else, then I'm going to ask you why, so I can chart that on my batting average. And then here's a script for you. Okay. Chris, I'm really sorry that I didn't do a better job of earning your business. That's on me. And I really want to wish you a lot of luck going forward in, the loan that you're going to do with this other lender. But one of the things that I had shared with you in my initial presentation is that if I'm doing my job correctly, my job really just begins when your first loan closes with me, because from there, it's my job to assist you in managing the largest indebtedness that you'll ever take on in your life. Most people just provide the debt and walk away. I don't do that with my clients. Now, I have not earned you as a client, but what I would like to do is call you in a couple of weeks, find out what interest rate you got locked in on, check in with you and see how you and your family are doing in the process, and make myself available to answer any questions that I might be able to answer for you. And I still want to watch your loan for you after it closes and proactively communicate to you opportunities that there might be in the future for you to do another loan. That's called adopting the loan. Now, here's what would happen. Sometimes I get a phone call within 3 or 4 days. Hey, you know what? This guy's not returning my phone calls. Is it too late for me to still go with you? No, not at all. Let's rock and roll. Well, I earned that by that script. Sometimes I get referrals from people. So-and-so referred me to you, and they said I should work with you. And I don't remember that name. I look in my database. That referral that I just got was from somebody I didn't close a loan with that went somewhere else. But remember something, 50% at least of all loans that close, the people aren't happy.
Right.
Okay. So you've got a 1 in 2 chance at minimum of that person wanting to do a loan with you in the future and actually regretting that they chose this other lender. But I had so many adopted loans in that category in my database, and I refied a lot of those people when the refi opportunities came about. The ego wants us to hit, delete from the CRM and curse them out and all that kind of stuff because our feelings are hurt. But the smart business person adopts the loan. And I hope that I've somewhat answered the question of this person, but like if they're ghosting you, I would keep calling them. And I would say to them, another message that I would leave sometimes is say, I've left you a few messages. I mean, I was always very kind, right? So it makes it really hard to shit on people that are kind. And I would just say, look, right. And I would just say, I'm so sorry to be a pest. And I don't want to be a pest, but I haven't heard back from you. So I'm just unclear whether you're on vacation or your life is just busy right now. Could you please just let me know either way if you would still like to talk about financing with me? And then I would get the call because they'd feel a little guilty of like, I've ghosted this guy. I gave them an opportunity Because remember, when you start ghosting people, it's no different than you not calling your past client database. After a while, you become sheepish and you go hide.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm inviting them back in to communicate with me by having that humble message.
You just remind me, I didn't want to paint my house in Arizona. And the guy called me 7 times. On the seventh time, he showed up at my door and I gave in and he painted my house
See, right?
7 times. And I said yes.
Bro,
And
I would get people all the time that I'd followed up with for 6 months. I just never gave up.
I love
I was
it.
like a pit bull that was like, my jaw was locked, you know? Tell me to
And
leave you alone and I will, but if you don't tell me to leave you alone, I'm going to keep calling you.
love it. I love it. Tons of compliments on adopting the loan. I think that's brilliant. Let's talk about Loan Atlas. I'm excited to hear this program.
Okay, so the Loan Atlas is this generation's loan toolbox and so much better. I'm going to share my screen. I want to walk you through this PowerPoint slide. We have a special offer.
Okay.
It's the same link that you'll get where you can download the tool that I created. So let me share my screen and I'll rip through this pretty quickly. Make sure that you watch, folks, the video that's on that I guess actually, let's see. Oh, view, that's right. Slideshow, there we go. All right, so there's a video on that landing page too that will tell you a lot more information on the Loan Atlas. We couldn't figure out how to show it with sound on this call. So, all right, what is the Loan Atlas? It's a faculty of teachers that has been assembled by myself that has funded over $27 billion in production. There are a lot of people on this faculty that you know of. Josh Metal, Danny Harani, Ryan Grant, Chris Ledley, Caleb LeGrand. I mean, like you look at Caleb LeGrand and Tyler Osby as an example. I mean, these two guys are just mega superstar originators. This is the most giving and gifted faculty that's ever been assembled in the industry, and we are here to help you. We're here to be your mentors, and we take it very seriously. These are all friends and clients of mine that are the best of the best. This is currently at launch. There are over 150 video tutorials and over 40 hours of educational content, and believe me, that is growing rapidly. Over the next 6 to 9 months, that number is going to double. We are post-producing a lot of educational content. The topics include database management or database marketing, in depth. All this stuff is in great depth, along with support documents, the letters to send out to your database, all of it, full-blown marketing library. So database marketing, marketing to referral partners, social media and consumer direct marketing, networking strategies, sales scripts. I mean, you just heard me rattle off a couple. I've got 40 scripts in the Atlas. Brian Grant has his haven't been put in there yet, but he has another 30. Tyler Osby has another 20. I mean, if you want sales scripting, there's no other place to go. Leadership, team building, hiring, training, culture, employee reviews. I mean, full human resources access, the perfect loan process. I saw that question come in. And believe me, when you see how content is delivered, this is not YouTube videos. This is really dynamically post-produced content, along with learning documents to help you take notes, along with assessment quizzes to ensure that you're really digesting the information, along with all the support documents. We're not leading the horse to the edge of water here, team. We're going to lead you to the edge of the water. We're going to push your head down. And we're going to make you drink. We're going to help. We're going to help you implement time and task management, and then my personal favorite category, my passion: personal development, mindset, health, and wellness. Okay, additionally, every month we have live coaching calls. We have a marketing library that we're building. We have tons of scripts and presentation tools, timely business tips that go out every week from me via voice broadcast and the rest of the faculty, community forums, and direct access to the faculty with office hours. Success scripts, worksheets and checklists, templates and guides, inspiration. We have audios. I mean, you're not going to be disappointed when you get in there. Okay, so the special founders membership offer to Windsor clients, right? It's normally $349 a month. It's a 1-year membership. Normally $349 a month for the premium membership. 43% off if you sign up by Friday. $199 a month. You want to go to this link here that you see. I'm going to leave it up there for a few minutes. And Chris, how do we get this link to you to give out to everybody so they can go to it?
If you email that over to the team, Tim, or to myself, I'll make sure it gets put in the chat, and I can also forward it out.
Okay, wonderful. I will do that when this call is complete. But before I do, I want to say one other thing to everybody about the loan that I think is really important. So imagine this. You have this massive learning platform that is really intelligently designed, that has this faculty of 17 different teachers teaching you all the best practices that they know. And then there's the live stuff. So as an example, every month we have a master class on the master class in January is with Mark Bowie on social media marketing and how to monetize it. Mark has 82,000 followers on his Instagram account. 2 weeks later is the implementation call to that master class. The final Friday of every month is Talk to Tim Live, which is my live coaching with the community. You write in your questions and I answer your questions. That's what I'm there to do. We have office hours starting in March every week with our faculty. So if there's a faculty member like Josh Metal or Ryan Grant, you're like, hey, I really want to pick, Josh Metal's brain on marketing because he's a marketing genius. Oh, he has office hours on Tuesday at 4 o'clock. Think of office hours at a university. You go and you get to sit with the instructor. Ryan Grant said this to me about a week and a half ago. He's like, you know what? The industry's never had an MBA. This is the MBA. This is your master's in business for the mortgage industry. And then the most important thing eventually is just the community, like people helping each other. That's what we're creating here, is giving people helping each other. So happy to be able to bring that huge discount to you. I highly recommend you sign up. I think you're going to find it to be the most valuable tool that you've ever had since you've been in this industry. And we're thrilled to be bringing it to the mortgage business.
Yeah, how cool. I think, you're thinking about this, you're thinking about if you're going to want to join the Loan Atlas or not. Just think about the value that you got from this call, the few tips that Tim's going to be is giving you, some spreadsheets that I think that you're going to see is hugely valuable. But then no telling the amount of scripts, the ideas, the community, guys, is where you learn those little nuggets that no telling what it'll put to your bottom line. I was told a statement the other day, and I'd love to have you reflect as we close here, which was sometimes what fuels you will fool you. And what I love about the Loan Atlas and some of your tools is that it takes a lot of that fool's gold out of play and really gets and sets that loan officer on the right path or the right direction. What do you think of that statement?
I don't know. It's not a statement, honestly, that I've ever heard before. I'd need to process that. I mean, I just think that the industry has been void of community for a very long time. People have said to me hundreds of times, man, ever since Loan Toolbox went away, there's not been a community in the mortgage industry. And I just wanted to create something that was bigger than me. Loan Toolbox was mostly me, and it was super successful. And I was like, I have so many talented friends. I just want to create something that gives people the direct scoop. Here's what you need to be doing, and here's how to do it, and here are the tools to do it with. So to give you an example, like Trevor Carlson's the number 5 reverse mortgage lender in the United States. And he's a buddy of mine and a client of mine. Not only did he create 16 learning modules on how to do HECM loans, but he provided all the PowerPoint presentations of what he delivers when he's speaking in front of a room full of seniors. And so it's like, we're just giving you everything we've got. That's our job. That's what this faculty is all about. That's why I say it's the most giving faculty the industry's ever assembled. We're just giving you everything. Here it is. It's amazing what's going into this platform, and I'm super proud to be a part of it, and very humbled to be a part of it.
Wow, so cool, Tim. Thank you. Thank you for all that you've given us today, and thank you for joining Coaching with Chris. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
You killed it today, and I'm excited to be involved with the Loan Atlas, and I know that we're going to sign up and encourage everyone else to do the same. So again,
Chris,
thank you.
One thing real quick before everybody leaves, give me, my team is, I don't know what they're doing right now, but I'm sure they're doing something. I need to unlock that last tab. You're very welcome to the person who just said thank you. I need to unlock that last tab, and we need to re-upload it. So when you go to that link, just give it maybe a couple of hours before you download that tool that I created for you, because I want to make sure that it works in full for you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Tim.
Bye-bye.